what we'll have is that we'll be, just for demonstration, we'll be facing like we're on diagonals of a square. And what we'll try to do is that we'll always want to face each other in the center. So reach forward. And then we reach side. Transfer. Back. So that's a molinetta. And the idea is that there's a center to this circle. Right now we're sharing a center. However, so let's say Kiana is our center. So if I were the follower, for example, and I'm going to do a molinette around Kiana, the idea that we're just going to kind of face it with me in the center. So if I go forward, side, back, transfer, side. So now Kiana is the center of the circle. At the same time, I could be the center of the circle. Or we can change the center of the circle, which is where things start getting really fun. So for example, let's say Kiana is going to be doing a molinette around me, and I'm currently the center of the circle. So Kiana steps forward, but let's say I step here. Let's say I step here. So now we change the center of the circle. And then if you step aside, so she steps there. And then if I step here, we're changing the center of the circle. And then if I go here, and I go here, and then I go here, and Kiana will just step forward. Oh. No, we don't worry about that. But that's where fun things start to come up, where you think, oh, you're just doing circles, whatever. But you can change the center of the circle. You can make a new center of the circle. So what I was doing when Kiana steps forward around me, and I'm stepping here, it's something called a saccata, which is the idea that I'm displacing her weight. In reality, she's transferring on her own, and then I just step. But the idea is now I've shifted where our circle center is, so we're no longer just doing a normal circle, it's moving. So we have that fluidity with it. Another step we're going to do is something called an ocho. So it's the idea of a figure eight. So Kiana steps forward, and pivots, and forward, and then pivots. She's kind of making a figure eight sort of pattern. At the same time, we can kind of change the way she does this depending on if I make different steps or introduce different things. One thing I did a little bit earlier, which totally confused Kiana because I didn't show her that earlier, is something called parada. So you're taking like a pause. Correct me if any of my Spanish is wrong. So we get this wall. And what I can do is I can transfer her weight, but not fully transfer, so she doesn't actually flat. She keeps her leg there, and then I go here, and then if I step away, and then if I bring her weight back, then she would just step over. Just like that. Thank you, Kiana. So, one of my favorite, yeah, sorry.
I just had a question about the Coquina.
Yeah.
So I don't understand. Can you play any song and that's a Coquina that follows like a beat signature, like a time signature, or is it particular times?
You can play pretty much anything, sometimes depending like where the venue is, what the audience is. You have to think about it, right? You're a DJ if you're creating music. So if I'm DJing,
So if I play Kanye West songs,
yes,
okay.
it would. I would not recommend doing that if your crowd is like 50 plus. That's probably pretty out of place. So that's one of the things where like when you start thinking about music and building playlists and being a DJ, that you have to consider this.
Just out of curiosity, how often are the Coquinas out of place? Like, or do they usually do a pretty good job of keeping it like theme appropriate?
I've always like started delving into playlist sort of things, but it's kind of like just something pretty regular. If you really want to, you can just do like 30 seconds of salsa. So the cortina doesn't have to be a full song. It can be like 30 seconds a minute. So if you saw when I had iTunes open, the cortina was only like 35 seconds long. It's just the idea of that there should be enough time for everyone to recognize, oh, time to get off the dance floor, wait for the next time to start, and figure out what we have to play.
Oh, so you don't dance a Coquina? Oh, it's a
If it's a salsa, some people will.
So I thought you danced.
No. I mean,
It's like a break song.
exactly. It's just a curtain where it's like, okay, this act is over, we're gonna wait, we have a transmission, whatever, and then next song comes.
You will think Light My Fire
waltz together, 2 or 3 milonga. You generally wouldn't do like 4 milonga because it's such a high energy and wear people out or they get really sweaty. You try not to do that. So just keeping where you are. Any other questions? Carl.
How difficult is it to stay on the same wavelength as your partner?
Depends how long you've both independently been dancing and then been dancing together. So with me and my girlfriend, I've been dancing for about 3 years. When we first started dancing, she'd been dancing for I think about a year or 2 years. But like we just had a really good connection in the dancing. So it was almost immediate that we were able to dance well together. And then it really progressed from there. But I have other people where I dance with them a lot and it doesn't work out. I dance with them because like nice, it's a social sort of thing. It comes out like a family. So you don't say no to people like when you know them. But it doesn't always mean like, well, we have a connection with them. Sometimes it takes time. If they're new to dancing, then there's no guarantee of a connection. Other times you can get the beginner and they just instinctively pick it up. Musicians particularly are just, they really pick it up. So, Jordan.
You mentioned like 8 different ways you could tick off or like embarrass someone. Have you ever royally embarrassed yourself or someone else because you like said thank you and you weren't supposed to, or I don't know? Or is that not normal?
Kind of. I mean, I think like, not necessarily the worst thing I've done, but it's the idea like, the tradition is supposed to be that the men invite the women to dance. Some women are much more bold than that and they'll ask the men to dance. I generally, like in terms of like the style of culture, not really recommended. But there's some women who would ask me to dance and I say, no, I'm waiting for my girlfriend because we have an arrangement where we always dance the first time together and I'm waiting for her to come. So I just tell them, no, I can't dance with you right now. So it does get kind of annoying then when, like, if my girlfriend comes and we just basically dance together the whole night. That's not necessarily within the whole social thing, but we don't want to do that. Any other questions? Kevin.
I asked a similar question for Jordan's Fireside chat, but I think it's generally an interesting one to ask for basically any topic. Have you found that dancing tango has affected other areas of your life or helped you in other ways? Like one of the things you mentioned was that you didn't have a very strong understanding of like a physical intelligence prior to beginning this, and now you really understand the way that your body moves well. So we found that that helps you, or the fact that you're in more social settings helps you, or anything like that.
Absolutely. So I was very shy growing up. One of my favorite stories, which I've told some people, was back in middle school. We had like a class size of like 20 people, and then like 15 guys, 5 girls. And I was just sitting at my desk one day, and a group of girls all came up to me, and one of them goes, Danny, I like you. I have no idea what to say, so I say, thank you. And they just like stare at me, giggle, and walk away. So, very socially awkward, it's great. So Tango definitely changes that, especially when you basically have 10 consecutive minutes where you're hugging and dancing with a woman, especially like if it's an attractive woman. So from that standpoint, that changed me a lot. It's forced me to be a lot more outgoing. I got involved with the leadership program, with leadership with RPI, Tango, like RPI Mahler. I was vice president of that for a bit. I helped out with post-ring and stuff. I helped out with Albany Tennis Society. I run some of the events when the instructors out. So it's definitely forced me to really get outside my comfort zone in that regard. In terms of skill set, at times I have a great amount of patience because I would spend hours just walking back and forth because my walk wasn't what I wanted. So as I was mentioning before, you kind of don't fall into your walk, and when you've been doing this long enough, you kind of think in your mind you have a certain style that you're looking for. And I don't necessarily know what that like idealized style for me is, but I have an understanding of where I'm not at that. It's like I'm comfortable with the frustration of like I'm not where I want to be, and I'm willing to put in a ridiculous amount of time to get there. So that's been very helpful to me. Also, just it's a very challenging dance. Surprisingly, Tango does bring a lot of like engineering and PhD people to it because you have to think a lot. And I kind of mentioned that with the idea of like you can change sensors, and it's like, okay, what if I don't transfer my partners like fully, or only partially? How how does that change the dance? So I didn't talk about it too much, but the title, the subtitle was The Art of Engineering the Social Dance. So I think about it in terms of an engineering mindset, how are there patterns to it, how can I move my partner, so kind of like not mechanical engineering, but it's just the idea of like, there's different energies, different motions of it. So there's one really cool step, which some of the videos will demonstrate a lot, and it's called a belay, so it's like a whip, which is the idea that your partner's foot, so for example, I had counted moving the front push-ups, but instead let's say she's doing back push-ups. So she's going back, and then if the partner, if you keep their weight on this foot, but you send an energy around and then send it back, it is how the foot goes. The foot goes, it comes, and it comes back. Also transferring the weight. And so that's really cool, which is just the idea of like, if you're very cognizant of your partner's weight, their movements, and you can lead very clearly, it's just really cool things you can do. So I'm gonna have, after this part, is gonna be 3 different performers, all with relatively different styles, doing stuff that you can kind of see some of the cool things. They'll have a lot more steps than what I've shown because they're about 100 times better than I am. But you'll see some similar things to like what Kiana and I were doing, and then kind of that element where if you look at it, you're like, oh, that's insane what they're actually doing. So if you transfer, I'm not going to pull Kiana out again, but like if you transfer people's weight and then you transfer the weight back, what combinations can you make with that? I said you have to do all of this in real time, right? Tango is an improvised dance. For the most part, there'll be some choreography with it, but it's a social dance, so you're improvising constantly. So when I'm on the dance floor, I may have an idea of certain steps, so I have certain steps that I can pull out my back pocket, but it's always entirely improvised in that moment because I don't know what my environment is like. I don't know if a couple is going to stop immediately in front of me. I don't know if someone's going to step backwards right into me and my partner. So to change my dance while still being musical, while paying attention to my surroundings, while being connected to my partner. And that's hella hard. It takes a lot of time to get used to that, and it can be very frustrating in the beginning. I did an entire year just like lessons out of PI before I went social dancing, and then like the first 6 months I went social dancing, there were nights where I didn't dance just because like I couldn't wrap my head around it, and just like I wasn't in a mental state to be able to handle everything at the same time. But you force yourself out there, you do it enough, and then you start to like what I did. I just said, okay, I'm only going to do 2 or 3 steps. I don't care if it's really musical. I don't really care if it seems like appropriate music, like if it fits. I'm just going to do it until I don't have to think about it. Then once I'm comfortable with that, then I can say, okay, can I actually like dance to the music, kind of ignoring the environment, not colliding with people, so with people moving. And then once I'm comfortable with that, then I can start paying attention to my surroundings, not having collisions. And then with that, it allows me to have like an integrated sort of dance. So in the beginning, it's kind of like robotic and mechanical, and then you do it, and now it feels like an actual dance. And so now when I go out to dance, I can just throw things out the back. So any other questions before we play some videos? Okay, cool. So, yes.
So this might be a little private.
Yep.
There's on the playlist side, there's one that said Tango, do not play.
Yes. So it's not perfect. So it's the idea that there's some music which was made and like you listen to it, you may think, oh, this sounds nice. You put it in action, no one dances to it, so it probably doesn't fit. Or like I'll listen to it and I want to keep it because I don't want to throw it away. It's kind of like I want to archive it and say, okay, I do have this. I made a note that I should not play this song if I'm doing it socially. So that's what that folder is for. John Carter.
Is Django your DJ name?
It is not my DJ.
Because it said Django though.
Correct. It was something to music I got from someone else.
Django sounds cool though.
Yeah. Alright. Good. Cool. So to start with, we will start with a tango by Javier Rodriguez and Noelia Barcin. So I'll preface this that I chose songs and performances by like my favorite performers. So
This brings up an interesting question. Do professionals always work together, or do they like have like a set partner, like you have your girlfriend, or is it more like they're professionals and you dance with them?
sure. So professionals have their own style for dance, which is kind of why they group is kind of like show